I've been in sales tech for 30 years now. What we always used to talk about is this thing called the bell curve. The bell curve is this distribution of seller skills, and it peaks in the middle because your average reps kind of all cluster around the middle. Buy sales tech, and it'll shift the bell curve to the right. It'll take your lousy reps and make them pretty good, and it'll take your pretty good reps and make them great. I'm here to tell you that is a load of hogwash. Seller's going to sell, and if you don't have seller game, it doesn't matter how good the tech is. This is the controversial thing. You get agents in here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your mediocre reps and you're say, guys, I don't need you anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the books from my best sellers. I come out ahead because now I'm actually doing more revenue with fewer reps. These agents aren't really about making mediocre people or sellers great. They're about taking excellence and allowing excellence to scale.
I could not agree more. There's no way I could agree more. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Justin Shriber, CEO of Terret, the company behind the world's most comprehensive fleet of AI revenue agents. Justin has 3 decades in leading marketing and revenue transformation at LinkedIn, Oracle, Siebel, Entra, and People.ai. Justin has driven go-to-market breakthroughs and built high-impact teams across the tech landscape. Today, he'll be sharing how your sales team can accelerate growth and productivity through AI innovation. Welcome, Justin.
John, great to be here.
Man, it's great to have you on the show. I am so super excited about jumping into this AI initiative, especially with agentic agents. And, we're transforming in our own backyard, our software enablement system, the sales machine, with agents. And it's been a journey from bots to agents and now to discovering how to develop the agents. How did you get involved in this and how long have you been involved in it?
Boy, I could go way back, John. I've been in sales since I was a kid, schlepping around window washing equipment, trying to convince people to let a 12-year-old come into their home and wash windows. And you learn really quick that if you don't have the sales skills, you're not going to put bread on the table. So I've been in the business, I guess, in that respect for many decades. My dad was a sales guy too. He sold jackets for a company called Pacific Trail, had an old beat up brown station wagon. He'd throw samples in the back of the station wagon and drive around Northern California trying to convince people to buy 2 or 3 jackets at a time. So I feel like I have seen what sales used to be. Recently, though, being a tech executive, I've seen how sophisticated the world has gotten, the velocity that we move at now, and also some of the exciting innovation. I built products to help people sell. I've marketed the solution. So I've come at it from a lot of different angles.
We're cut from the same cloth. I went door to door. I'd mow your lawns. I would paint your barn. I was a paper boy. I've been in sales my whole life, right? And I've got to do it and do direct sales door to door, literally in 7 countries around the world and built massive sales teams. And it's so funny how there's the different mediums from selling FMCGs, selling services to selling software and B2B. How did you find the evolution or of your own skills? Because selling B2B where there's multiple stakeholders and you go into boardrooms, I'm doing that now. I've sold from the stage. I've sold an organization of thousands to join our organization. How was your evolution going from, selling small ticket items to working with Oracle and working with, the big corporates?
Well, back in the day when I was growing up, I didn't really know what I was doing was called sales. It's just what you had to do to earn a dollar. My first job out of college, though, was at a management consulting firm. And I remember hanging out with these partners and watching them operate in the boardrooms, talking to executives. And about 6 months in, what I realized is these guys don't really know the facts and the figures and all the models and the complexities. They know how to sell. They know how to sit next to a CEO, have a real conversation with them, figure out what the CEO, what's keeping them up at night, and then position their services to be able to close a contract. That, in my mind, is kind of selling at the highest level because literally all you have to sell is an idea, a concept. It is really, truly solution selling. So when I got out of business school and I went to Siebel, that was my first job, I was a product manager, but I always remembered my experience as a consultant and how those partners operated. And I tried to bring that flavor to the conversations that I had with my customers. And at first I was building product, and then the sales team was like, man, let's get the product guy in front of these customers so we don't have to take all the bullets. I actually loved it. I loved talking to them about their business problems. I understood the products, and pretty soon the sales guys were like, man, this guy's okay. You know, he knows what he's doing. And they pulled me into the sales side. And so that's kind of how I made my transition into the B2B world.
It's fascinating. I find sales to be like putting together pieces of the puzzle. The more I'm involved with B2B, and, you know, I have my own frameworks, and there's a lot of different frameworks and systems out there, from spin selling to medic. Mine is next level, take people from where they are to the next level. And at the end of the day, no matter what, I went on a sales call yesterday, believe it or not. I was in a boardroom. There was about 9 stakeholders, and I've literally trained my people to have that conversation. And I went in, I sat down, and I let my business development manager handle the show. And literally she started reading off an executive summary without going around the room and getting buy-in. And then I found out that she had only did discovery with the one individual in the room that she was sitting by, and the other 8 had not seen a demo of our product, had not had discovery done, had no idea why they were in the room, right? And so I'm watching her, and I'm like, this is like deer in the headlights. You're looking at 8 individuals. I don't know if you're not reading the room right. So anyway, I interjected and just had a conversation. How many of you understand what an ERP is? The room was deer in the headlights. And that's what the tech guy was talking about. That's what my girl was talking about. And I'm like, okay, and how many of you understand a DPMS? A data performance management system. It sounds so sophisticated, doesn't it? Do you know what it does? Nobody could raise their hand. And I'm like, yeah, let's simplify all this. What challenge do you have? What one do you have?
Yeah.
How many of you want more work? How many of you want less work? And what does your CEO actually want? Because you know what I know what he wants? He wants more money. That's what he wants. He wants to cut costs and earn more. That's it.
Real simple. Real simple.
And people don't have that conversation.
What's so fascinating is I think anybody that's been a student of the game knows that we have really dialed in the art of selling. We know what it takes to move from point A to point B, but every generation needs to relearn those lessons. Even though the knowledge is out there, that new person that's entering the field, they don't know it. And one of the challenges I see of sales is taking that rising generation, imparting all of the knowledge that we've collectively, the wisdom we've captured, and then kind of infusing that with all the new sauce, you know, the AI and all that goodness. But there are some fundamentals, and honestly, they're the same as when I was knocking doors trying to sell, you know, window washing services, when I was in consulting. Like, there are bedrock foundational sales qualities that haven't changed in 50 years. And then there's new stuff. But don't lose sight of the fundamentals and the basics, because if you just embrace the new stuff and you lose sight of the relationships, the problem solving, the strategic thinking, like, I don't care how good the tool is, it ain't going to save you.
Amen and amen. Yeah. And so you've been on this journey many, many years, LinkedIn for 5 years. Then you went on to Forbes. Well, you're a contributor there, and then People AI, then Entra. And now you jumped right in and you set up your Terret. Right?
Terret.
So what inspired you to say, you know what, it's time?
Yeah, I think that I had sat in the product seat, in the marketing seat, in the sales seat. And so I had a good handle on what it takes to make business run. I'm really passionate about helping salespeople to do better at their trade and craft. And I kind of had a vision over the years for how I like to run sales organizations. I had a point of view on where I felt like sales organizations were really struggling. And based on my background, I'd been at a number of companies that were using AI. I said, man, if we could turn AI loose and address some of these fundamental human issues that have been dogging sales organizations for 50 years, that would be amazing. The other thing, honestly, John, there's a little bit of guilt here. I was at Siebel in 2000. I was talking about some of the stuff Siebel did. We were nowhere near doing that kind of stuff. Like you'd get out there and you're selling on a wing and a prayer. I mean, you know how sales is.
Yeah.
I feel like I got to make restitution now. Like I actually got to finally deliver the goods I said I was able to deliver back in 2000 with AI and all of this new technology. I think that's actually finally possible.
Yeah, I have a whole product team, a whole engineering team, and it's been my biggest challenge forever. What do companies need to do instead of spending all that money to empower their sales team? Isn't that what Terret does now?
Yeah, John, you raise a great point, and I must talk to 5 or 6 people a week about this question. Do I build it? Do I buy it? How do I think about that? I got a simple framework that I always put in front of customers or prospects: build versus buy. If you need an agent to do a fairly generic task that you could say pretty much every sales organization in the world needs to perform, if you need it fast and you want to show quick value, and if your team is a little bit behind the curve in terms of their AI prowess, you should be buying that stuff. On the other hand, if you've got highly specialized secret sauce that only your company knows about, if you've got a killer AI team that knows their stuff, and if you got a little bit of time to work on this, you're probably going to want to build that. I think eventually companies are going to get to a point where they're getting really smart about being able to distinguish the kind of off-the-shelf capabilities that they require versus the unique proprietary stuff, and you'll have a combination of both. But don't feel like you need to build all this stuff. There are great companies. I'm obviously biased, but I'd say Terret has invested a lot of money and a lot of expertise in building great off-the-shelf agents that are going to get you up and running and automate a lot of the key issues that you've got, and you're not going to really break a sweat in deploying this stuff.
Yeah, and so in saying that, as an example, there's so much different technology. So we built our system on Laravel and React and with the MongoDB database. This is version 3. So you know my pain. You feel my pain. Every version's $1 million, right? This is not no small scale, send an email software.
Big ticket items.
Well, it's an enterprise level built system. So how easy is it to integrate your agents in the different tech stacks that will actually work?
Yeah. So let me hit that question. Before I go there, though, let me just kind of lay some baseline down and describe what an agent is, because I think a lot of people kind of nod their head, and maybe that term in and of itself is kind of confusing. An agent is simply a piece of technology that will execute activity based on either human input or automated inputs. There could be triggers that fire somewhere from a system, and based on that, agent goes to work and it performs work. Could be a human that kicks it off as well. And so we've got agents that do lots of different things, all mostly focused on what I like to call the $5 tasks in sales. You got $5 tasks. You're not going to make club doing the $5 task, but they got to get done. And then you got the $5,000 tasks. That's the money shot. What we want to do is put the agents on the $5 tasks so that you got more time to do the $5,000 tasks, the relationships, the problem solving, the strategic account planning. So our agents will do things like you mentioned, call recording. Yeah, they'll be on calls, they'll listen in, they'll summarize, they'll take action items, but they'll actually thread that into the deals to give you more insight into what's going on in the deals. Fully automate the sales process. They'll keep track of where you are in the sales process. They'll thread in detail from your phone conversations or your email, and they'll update the sales process. They'll actually coach you on how well you did in executing against those milestones. You got account planning agents that will monitor different accounts, looking for triggers. Hey, this account, they just hired 5 new people in your sweet spot. You better reach out to them. And they'll proactively let you know about that. These are all the things that have to happen behind the scenes, and reps know that that's what makes them effective. But at the end of the day, they're the $5 tasks. Get those off the plate and free up your time to do what you do best.
and they'll make more $5,000 sales and close more sales with that additional time. And that's what I'm imparting on my engineering team and all of the companies we're doing discovery with. Like literally yesterday, there's 43 salespeople in that organization selling steel, power steel.
Mm-hmm.
And of those 43 individuals, I demonstrated real time with them how I can save them, each salesperson, 3 hours a day. We eliminate 3 hours of the $5 task. This is exactly what I did yesterday. Times 43 people's 129 hours, 658 or 9 hours a week. We divide that by 40 and you got 16 more salespeople out there in time selling for you, saving your company $4.3 million a year. Like, it's a no-brainer when you just do the common sense numbers. And what is the CEO going to sign off on? Why are you here? I'm the CEO. I'm going to walk in. Okay, why are we here? Well, John demonstrated he can save us $4.3 million a year and increase our sales by 6%, giving us an ROI of an additional $938,000. Isn't it that simple?
Let me tag in on something that you just talked about, and maybe this is a little controversial, but you're on exactly the right track. This is a dollars and cents conversation. Historically, and I've been in sales tech for 30 years now. What we always used to talk about is this thing called the bell curve. The bell curve is this distribution of seller skills, and it peaks in the middle because your average reps kind of all cluster around the middle. And what we used to say, buy sales tech, and it'll shift the bell curve to the right, meaning it'll take your lousy reps and make them pretty good, and it'll take your pretty good reps and make them great. I'm here to tell you that is a load of hogwash. Seller's going to sell, and if you don't have seller game, it doesn't matter how good the tech is, right? So this is the controversial thing. You get agents in here, and these agents expand your capacity. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your mediocre reps, and you're going to look at your poor reps, and you're going to say, guys, I don't need you anymore. I don't need your capacity, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the books from my best sellers. I'm going to increase their quota a little bit, but they're going to be happy because they're not doing any more $5 jobs. I'm going to pay them a little bit more money. I come out ahead because now I'm actually doing more revenue with fewer reps. I got less headache because I got my hitters, and I don't have to worry about anybody else. So there's less management overhead. So that's kind of the thing that we're coming around to and realizing is that these agents aren't really about making mediocre people or sellers great. They're about taking excellence and allowing excellence to scale. That's the key.
I could not agree more. There's no way I could agree more. Because at the end of the day, if you want to raise the water line, you talk about the bell curve. I call it the water line. So all of the boats raise the water line, everybody rises. And you can do that from beginner to winner. But if you've got seasoned old dog salespeople that never got good at their craft, never got good at listening to what's in it for the customer, not what's in it for you, not commission. It's not about your commission. It's about you getting your clients to win.
Yeah.
What do you need to do to make them win? Because if you cannot make them win, if you can't show them the cost of them not taking action, or if you can't show them a return on their investment or why they're investing, you need to leave. You need to walk away or direct them to who can solve their problem. Sales to me is so simple. It's what Zig Ziglar said. And initially, I can tell you, I wasted $1 million just on the wrong salespeople, the wrong CRO.
Yeah.
Because I initially thought, because I built a multi-million-dollar company doing direct sales, whether it was books, novelty items, then we started selling ADT alarms, then we started selling credit cards, then we started selling skincare, car care, software, advertising services. Literally, my journey has been selling any kind of different thing that you could sell that I could empower my organization with, keeping everything simple. But we always came from service. And when coming from service, never nervous. I don't care if I'm talking to Trump, Elon Musk. I don't care. As long as I know what their problem is, then I can help them connect the dots. And if I can't, then I need to send them to Justin or to someone that can solve their problem. And so what I did with my naivety, I built this software sales system to empower my guys, whether it's an app in the field where they just push buttons to take an order. And then that's it, because they're not technical. They're not filling out forms. They're not collecting the business cards. Like, they just take a picture, done, I'm out. Next guy. Sales is service, right? So naively, I hired this high-level, 12-year experience oil and gas chief revenue officer, spending tons of money. After a year and a half, he sold absolutely nothing. I'm not upset. I am so grateful because it's allowed me to evolve my mindset and to know that it's what Zig Ziglar said. It's the 3 S's: service, solving problems, and satisfaction. When you get that right, you'll have long-term, lifetime relationships. And sales is being in service. So now this is 100% your realm, right? With the agents, but you've been a chief revenue officer. Now you're directing them. What do you see that? Because I shared with you my problem because it's real and it did cost me $1 million. I can send you copies of the checks, which is, when I look back, it's disgraceful. Hey folks, if you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor, like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear, what topics would you like to hear in the future, because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show.
This is one of my favorite stories. This is about Tom Watson, the legendary CEO of IBM. And he hired this guy who was a young, all the fire, went out there and aggressively tried to build this business for IBM, spent $35 million, and the thing completely flamed out. So Tom calls him into his office and he's like, hey, I got to talk to you. And this guy walks in. This is back in the day when they wore hats, had his hat under his arm, ready to get fired. And so he walks in and he goes, Tom, are you going to fire me? And Tom goes, fire you? I just spent $35 million educating you. Go out and put that education to work. And he threw him out of his office, and the guy was a rock star after that. So, I mean, in my mind, that's what business is all about. It's taking the hits, it's gaining the experience, and the wise people, they don't stay on the ground. They pick themselves up, and next time they don't step on that rock. They're able to go around it, get around it, and they're that much better for it.
I definitely empowered the guy. I love giving people a rope.
Yeah. See what they can do.
Yeah, pull yourself up. Show me what you can do.
Yeah, I like that.
Here's a rope. Pull yourself up. There's also something else you can do with that rope. You can hang yourself because you said you're the right guy. I've given you everything, the budget, the training, my input, everything, but he hung himself. And the reason why he hung himself, and this is a lesson, is because he was toxic. He diminished his entire team. He blamed the product, he blamed the company, and he blamed his team. That's where I decided this is done, because there's no saving somebody who's toxic and blames everybody else for them not being successful. So it was a magical learning lesson for me, and it was a great investment in actuality, because now this being your arena and having all of this B2B enterprise level experience, and this is for our listeners now. This is a B2B podcast, although there's life lessons and so much for other companies or founders to learn from. What do you think most companies get wrong with their revenue operations?
Well, I'll address that specifically through the lens of AI, because there are a lot of companies out there now. Most companies at this point are experimenting with AI in some form or another. I think the biggest mistake is taking too big of a swing initially. There's a lot of promise surrounding AI. There was actually a very interesting study that recently came out from MIT, found that 95% of AI projects fail. Percent. And so the advice I always provide is think about your AI journey as a staircase. There's 3 stairs. Stair number 1 is lay the foundation. You're going to be doing stuff that doesn't seem, really exotic, but it's important. Step 2, once you got the foundation in place, start to scale it. And then step 3 is where you really start to change the economics of the business. Going back to a point you made earlier, you start to change your revenue trajectory, your velocity. You start to change your margins because of the resources that you're having to put against that revenue or not having to put against that revenue. But don't think about hitting step 3 out of the gate. Start with step 1 of the foundation.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like what we're starting with is the $5 task, and then the $5 evaluator, and then the $5 feedback. And then we're taking it a step further because, as an example, I love how you talked about intertwining it or getting it to do different functions, because ultimately you got marketing. They generate all of the leads. I want that to be automated in a way that it seamlessly hands those leads on a platter that are qualified to my salespeople. And then seamlessly, my people have conversations. All the $5 tasks are handled. And then when that deal is closed, it seamlessly hands it to customer success. All of this can be done with agents, all of it. It seamlessly sends out calendar invites. It seamlessly sends out notifications to all parties involved, sends out emails for the next meeting, the next setup. It seamlessly creates a sequence of emails, whether it's in marketing, it's in sales, or it's in customer service or customer success. And the loop just continues. And not only that, it seamlessly evaluates what are the best marketing strategies or the best practices of the top marketers doing that the other people aren't doing, so that it can send notifications and a training to those that aren't doing well. Same with sales, same with marketing, same with customer success. And now you close the loop of the training for a self-learning organization with best practices of what's working. And then, by the way, it can seamlessly pull from the internet best practices to evaluate your internal team with what's happening and working externally. So isn't that so simple?
Yeah. Yeah. The way I would think about it is kind of going back to my 3 steps. The foundation in my mind is eliminate the clerical tasks. What I mean by that is we shouldn't be updating CRM anymore. We shouldn't be taking notes anymore. We shouldn't be tracking follow-up items anymore. Those are all clerical tasks that, by the way, have a direct impact on the quality of the information in all of your systems. I don't care how meticulous you are. If you're a human, you're going to miss stuff. You're going to transpose stuff. You got biases you bring to the table. And if that's what's influencing what goes into your systems, the systems are unreliable. So step 1, just eliminate the clerical tasks. Then you move to the next step, which is scale. When you're in the scale mode, what you're thinking about is how you can improve the efficacy of your sales organizations. That's when you start to get into things like mutual action plans. Agents can generate mutual action plans and do an incredible job. Your sales process and your coaching, these are all things that make a rep more effective at their trade. And then you're ready to move to the third, and this is where really the economics of the business change. You're literally eliminating complete functions. Deal desk, for example. You can get agents to be able to dynamically build a quote and make sure that it's in compliance. You can get agents now to perform the SDR function, and by extracting the humans from those functions, you're radically changing the underlying economics associated with your business. And that's where it gets really exciting. But guess what? You can't proceed to step number 3 until you move through step 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're not providing that executive summary to the boardroom and the CEO to make a decision. But that's where we're going. And that's where yesterday I came back from the meeting and I literally drew out, because I created the executive summary framework because I want them to know what's in it for them. and how we're going to create a competitive advantage for them and their business and reduce their costs. Because ultimately, I want our solution to pay for itself. That's the key. So if in the absence of value, everything comes down to price, if that's not a misnomer and that's the actual fact, in the absence of value, everything comes down to price. I handle that objection right up front by allowing them to understand, in actuality, our system, our goal in working with you is to show you how our system pays for itself. Mm-hmm. Would you allow me to demonstrate that? And then boom, I open up the survey and I ask you, how many people do you have? How many $5 tasks are they doing? I'm going to use your words. All right. So we got 43 salespeople. They're wasting 3 hours a day doing admin work. How much do they make an hour? Add that all up per week, per month, per year. This is how much you're wasting. This is how much we can reduce your cost. You got 17 encoders, and we can completely eliminate those 17 encoders times their monthly salary. We eliminate all of that. You move them on to customer success, or it's abatement. You no longer even need that position in your company. I can demonstrate to you how our system pays for itself. I want an agent to do that. Are you there yet?
We're close. We're close. I think you'd be surprised at what we can do.
Well, I love surprises on Christmas. So tell me where you are at, because look, man, Justin, if you can save me the time, the money, and the effort, even with the agents that I have, I don't need to be building them all out myself if I can lease yours.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So the value proposition we bring to the table is that you're going to at least double the book that a salesperson can manage. Not only are you able to double the book, but you're able to increase the close rates, because every deal that you touch, you're going to be operating more effectively. So you get a double whammy. Number one is your close rates are increasing, but you're doing that with fewer salespeople. That's top and bottom line benefits that we're able to deliver to the customers.
Yeah. And so you've built the agents to eliminate the $5 task. Have you done it in marketing, sales, and customer success?
So we focus on sales and customer success. Customer success is an interesting topic. I've seen a real evolution in that function over the past 10 years. Prior to 2015, customer success was really about keeping the customer happy, running down the trouble tickets, fielding problems or questions or concerns. Today, it's really a revenue function.
Amen.
Focused squarely on renewals and expansion. The reality is, knocking down all those trouble tickets isn't necessarily going to get you the renewal or the expansion. And so with that new focus, I see organizations bringing in professional sellers to actually staff the customer success team. And the first thing these professional sellers say is, where's the process? Like in sales, we got a process. We got qualification frameworks like MedPick or Spice or whatever you want to use. Where's the process in customer success land? There isn't one. And so what we're starting to see now is a lot more rigor that goes into customer success. Much more of a process orientation around identifying the pain, the customer satisfaction that's going to allow you to, number one, lock down the renewal, and number two, run the expansion. And guess what? It's basically the same motion that you're running in sales. You got to identify the value and the benefit. You got to quantify it. You got to put that in front of the right decision makers and help them to understand that they're better off with you from a dollars and cents perspective than if they let you go. That's how you close the renewals and the expansion. And so the agents that we bring to the table, they really reinforce that kind of a mindset.
I see it as there's hunters, there's farmers. The hunters are the sales guys on the front lines in the boardrooms. The farmers are the ones that water the crops, nurture the crops, and harvest more out of the crop. And that's what customer success does. They are literally, and I have a company I'm working with, and I've been to Japan, and they've been doing this for years. In Japan, there's not as much, how would I put it? They're doing a lot of telesales, whether it's from real estate, and then they upsell your internet, they upsell your cable provider, they upsell your water, they upsell furniture packages. Like they have a core focus on upselling. Once you buy from them, then they have a group of farmers that nurture and literally rehash you on everything else you'll need, because the most difficult thing is getting the client. Then you want to keep the client. But that's how I see that role of customer success has evolved. I was talking about this with the steel company yesterday, how they can literally use their customer success or their encoders rather than firing them. They move them into servicing that customer and letting them know that, I don't know if Justin let you know, but there's a special this month. You already ordered 100 of these, but if you increase your order, we'll save you 5% on your next order, or immediately when you take full cases, which is 120. Would you like to just go ahead and do that and get the 5% savings, because you're going to be buying next month anyway? And it's not even revolutionary. It's common sense.
Yeah.
But they're not doing it.
Motion, high leverage on the expand motion. And if customers have that, I mean, the reality is that 60 to 70% of revenue now is being generated by the install, even 80%. And so the companies that have really figured this out and have perfected their expand motion, they're the ones that are thriving. And the beauty of that is, once you close the customers, they're happy and they're expanding, that becomes to some extent a recession-proof business, because you've got this flywheel that's spinning within an organization. And if they're growing and they're finding value and they're re-upping, even when they start to take hits, they're going to hang on to you because you've proven the value.
Yeah. So in saying that, bringing it back to yourself, and thank you for being on the show, bringing it back to yourself. Who's your ideal client right now? Who's the companies that you want to serve?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, they've got to be B2B sales. Number two, we look for companies that have at least 2 people on their RevOps team, because that indicates that they're starting to think about the process that sits behind the sale, and we can really help out with that. And then the third thing is we focus on typically sales organizations that have 50 sellers or more. And that's because once you get up to 50 sellers, you'll lose track of things if you're trying to run out of spreadsheets. So if you got 2 RevOps people, 50 sellers, standard B2B horizontal sales motion, you're a perfect fit for us.
And what does a successful implementation look like for you from start to finish when you work with these companies, so that the listeners expect?
And the first thing that we do, we always start with the sales process. In my experience, the sales process, that's the central nervous system of the sales organization. And we'll have the client map out what are the stages in your sales process, what are the milestones, and what does excellence look like. We have a really slick tool that allows you to embed that sales process in our tool literally in a few hours. And then from there, we'll hook into your CRM, we'll hook into your email and your calendar, and we'll start to extract all the information out of those systems to automatically update your sales process. Once that happens, we can then start to coach your people. We can grade them. Hey, John, you're not so good when it comes to figuring out what the compelling event is. We actually have numerical and qualitative scores that back that up. This is where we want to help you. Betty, you're amazing at that. Maybe you should become a mentor to John. So within literally a week, we're giving you full readouts on all your process, what's happening and where you can improve. Within a month, you're starting to see your conversion rates and your win rates start to increase. And that gives you the conviction that you need to double down on the solution. And from there, we'll introduce additional agents as well. But it's that sales process that delivers the immediate value and shows you what we can do.
So how do you do the initial evaluation? Do you have an assessment form? Do you charge for that assessment to evaluate a company and then what they need to do about it? Like, what is your sales process?
So we'll go in, and the first thing we'll do is we'll qualify the customer, make sure that they fit that criteria that I talked about before. We will actually agree to do a proof of value And that's not something that we charge the customer for. We're so confident in our solution that we know if you let us deploy it in a month, you're going to find value and you're going to purchase the solution from us. So we'll sign them up for a proof of value. What we'll then do is we'll baseline what their current performance is before they deploy the solution. We'll look at things like, what are your win rates? How much well are you adhering to your sales process? And we'll get all those baseline metrics. Then we'll deploy our solution. We'll come back in a month and we've got dashboard capabilities in the tool. So after a month, we'll say, here's where you started. Here's where you are now. Tangible value we've been able to demonstrate that ultimately manifests itself in terms of the revenue you're generating. And at that point, they're like, great, sign me up. I've already seen it work. I don't have any concerns. There's no risk here.
What typically does it cost for that month-long evaluation? Does a company have to invest in that 1 month trial? And or what does that cost?
They don't invest in the trial. That's free. And that's one of the reasons that we set a floor in terms of the size customers that we work with. We typically work with mid-sized to large enterprises, large deployments. So the proof of value is free. The agents on average run about $600 per user per year. So do the math on that times the number of reps that you've got. And that's typically how it works out.
So now the next thing is you said you have a dialer, right? Or a call enablement system, right?
We have a call recorder. So the agent sits on the call, it captures all of the notes, the sentiment, the emotion, and then it threads that into all your other systems, your email or your CRM systems, so that you can keep track of things that happened.
I love it. You know, different is better than better.
Love talking shop with you today. This is near and dear to my heart. So thanks for driving the conversation. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it has been awesome. So how do people reach out to you and work with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Ping me on LinkedIn, and I'll get back to you, and we can have a conversation. Justin Shriber.
Justin Shriber, Terret, ladies and gentlemen, automate AI in your business. Thanks for being on the show.
John, thanks. It's been great.
That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.